Hello, everybody. Welcome to my comparison of Double Indemnity book versus movie. I actually saw the movie first, and I loved it so much that I picked up the book and read it. And I also must point out, what a hideous book cover. But anyways, recently I watched The Maltese Falcon and have been slowly getting into noir films. And as you all know, I typically just watch horror movies, but I love the atmosphere in these movies and the side of humanity that they show, this darker side of humanity. And I just really dig like the atmosphere in these sort of like pulpy books and in these noir movies. I love the black and white in movies like this or The Maltese Falcon, and the way they play with shadows and angles I think is really neat. And that's the thing about why I love black and white. Now, I always say I prefer black and white movies, I prefer black and white comic books, I prefer art in black and white, movies in black and white, everything in black and white, and nobody ever believes me. And they never believe me when I tell them that it just looks better, the performances are all better. Like, this movie would not have been as good if it were in color. It just really wouldn't. But the other thing about black and white is it's like it takes us into this whole different world. Like, even though nothing supernatural happens, nothing along those lines, it still lets me know that this is a strange world, a different existence, because our world's already in color. And I love when movies are in black and white because it's like we're going down into another existence, another universe. That's just how it hits me. That's just how it feels to me. It's a very weird thing to say, I suppose, but I just love this noir world. It's just a different world, and I just love it. Double Indemnity was a movie that I wanted to pick up for a while. Finally, I picked it up. I heard about this probably, I want to say back in like May, on Turner Classic Movies, and I finally picked it up, finally watched it, and I especially loved it. And it was really gripping. It had me on the edge of my seat, especially because we know what happens when the film starts. And of course, this is a spoiler review and spoiler comparison. I don't know why you'd be watching this if you hadn't already, watched it or read it, but I guess it's the YouTube thing. You're always obligated to say spoilers. I've even had people complain to me about spoilers on videos that were titled spoilers, so I guess I'll say it here, but spoilers of course. But it tells us at the start what happens. We have this dude Walter that is confessing to this murder, and it just has me hooked right away when he says, I killed him for money and a woman, and I didn't get the money and I didn't get the woman. And I'm like, hold up, what did you do now? Like, what is going on? Like, it just had me. It just had me gripped, and like just going back and seeing how it all goes wrong. Because at first when they meet, when Walter and Phyllis meet, he's like, no, you're crazy, you are trying to kill your husband, because he's an insurance salesman. And she's like, what about life insurance, what about this, and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, no, I know you're trying to kill him, like, you're not fooling me. And he gives in, and I was just like, oh man. And especially knowing where it led to, and just like everything they had planned, it seemed so perfect. And I'm like, where would they mess up? Where did they mess up? Where does it go wrong? And that's why I was just waiting for it. And there are like so many times where I thought it was going to happen and it didn't. And it had me on the edge of my seat, especially the dialogue was great. That's one difference. We'll get to more of the differences later, but like a good chunk of dialogue was carried over from the book, but like a lot of it was like wholly original. A lot of it was wholly Billy Wilder and Raymond Chandler that adapted the book into the movie. And just the dialogue, it just really got me, because there's all the voiceover narration from Walter, and I just love the part where he's walking and he says that like he couldn't hear his own footsteps. It was the walk of a dead man. I was like, oh boy. Like, I was getting chills, guys. I loved this movie so much, and I loved the book. But I think that like this situation, this book, I mean, it was just as gripping, but it's sort of a situation like Psycho, where the author was onto something, and a great director just perfected it. Like, this book is awesome, and like the book by itself, yes, I like it, and I like it a lot more than Psycho, which I thought the book was sort of trash. But it's like, it's the same case where like there's this author that puts out a solid book. Like, this is a really fun book, but it's not as good as the movie. And it's like the same case where like this author puts out a solid book, and then this director just like makes it perfect. It's an absolute perfect movie. Like I do not have one single complaint about this movie. It was just absolutely perfect in every single way. It is definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. Normally, I rank my favorite movies as my favorite horror movies, of course, because that's all I watch. And then I have, another section of favorite non-horror movies. This is up there, like in the top three. And I think overall movies, like if we combine the list, like it's still like really up there. Like it's I'm having a little trouble though determining where exactly I rank it if we mix the lists together. But as far as like non-horror movies, it's like this, Casablanca, and Mulholland Drive. Like those make up my top three probably. So yeah, but all right, we'll get into more of the differences. So the differences are pretty much small. It's just the way that the movie expands on the very condensed scenes that make it so much better. This is told in first person, so he's like, I did this, I did that, and there's definitely like conversations and stuff here in the book, but like a lot of it is like him recounting like we talked about this and this and he said this and but it happens in paragraph form instead of conversation form, or he's like, I went to the movies, did this, went to work, did this, came home, and it's like, in the movie you can't just always just go like and just do a montage of everything, which is what it would equate to if they just translated it literally from the paragraphs. There's some scenes where the dialogue wasn't all there, and they expanded on it, and I think it's just so much stronger for that. And there's like little differences too. Before we get into the big differences, I'll just say that the dude's name is Walter Neff in here, and the chick is Phyllis Dietrichson, and in the book it's different because it's Walter Huff and Phyllis Nerdlinger. Now I don't know the point of changing Huff to Neff. I couldn't care one way or the other, but I'm actually glad they changed it from Nerdlinger to Dietrichson, because I could not take this movie seriously if he was like, I killed a nerdlinger. I'm like, of course he did, he's a nerd. Like it's a lame name, but Dietrichson is the name that makes this serious. I really have no clue why they did that. It's like everybody's name from the book to the movie, and again, I don't know why they did this because it's an adaptation, but they changed everybody's name like just slightly. It's really weird. I don't really know why. The biggest difference between these two, and I like how they did it in the movie more, was that Mr. Dietrichson's daughter Lola, in the book, between her and Huff or Neff, whatever you want to call him, Walter, like they have a bit of like a romance in here. She's not totally into him, just a little bit, but like he completely falls for her, and I thought that was really weird. It was just a little sus, even though she was 19, and he's 35 or something. Like, it was just a little strange. In the movie, though, it's more like a parental sort of, like, friendship between them. So that was, like, much more normal. But I am glad that got scrapped. There's also some other differences, like some of the alibis he tries to set up in the book. Like, there's one part where, like, he goes to the movie theater and makes sure that, like, this part's really weird. Like, that the usher or somebody, or some chick, some worker there, like he wanted her to remember him, so he gets out of his alibi. So like her top button was undone, so he like buttoned it and made some comment about it, and they had like a little argument. He's like, there, now she'll remember me. And there was like stuff like that, and he knew some actor in the movie he sold insurance to, so he like calls him up, trying to schedule something to sell him more insurance, just to set up his alibi, whatever. So there was stuff like that, which was, I mean, it was okay. Stuff like that really I have no opinion on, because it wasn't like a big plot point. It was just some smaller things, which I guess were cool to see, because you need to have some differences between them, or else it actually is pretty boring to just read the whole thing and be like, yeah, I knew every single thing, nothing was different. So it was cool to find some differences like that. The biggest difference, though, has to be definitely the third act and the ending, and where they sort of, they're like, this town ain't big enough for the two of us, where they're like, finally the guilt's got to Walter, and he's got to kill Phyllis, or else she could, like, turn him in, expose him, and she's on to him, she wants to kill him. And so, like, in the movie, it plays out so much better than it does in the book, where he plans to kill her, and it's some really convoluted sort of plan, with meeting her in a car somewhere and jumping out the car and having it roll to kill her. But excuse me, but it doesn't go according to plan, and he gets shot by Lola's boyfriend and ends up in the hospital. And while he's in the hospital, he confesses to killing Mr. Nerdlinger. To Keyes, which Keyes is he's got such a big role in the movie. He's hardly in the book. He's mentioned like 2 times, and then you get to the very end, and he's there at the hospital, and he's not really in the book so much as he is in the movie. Movie gives him a much bigger role, and I prefer his role in the movie, of course. But there's that, and he like confesses to it, and I don't know. It was an okay ending, and then there's the even further ending where like after it all happens, like Walter and Phyllis are like on some like cruise ship in like Mexico or something, and they both decide to like jump over the edge to commit suicide because they know once the boat or whatever, the cruise ship, whenever it docks, that like they're gonna find them and arrest them or something. So they both decide just to commit suicide and then jump over the edge, which I mean, I guess it was a cool ending to see, but again, I prefer the one in the book, like sorry, in the movie. Like the movie just, I don't know, it had so much more life to it, and I liked the characters so much more, and I don't know, they just expanded on some things, did some things differently, and there's even a James M. Cain quote I read somewhere where, you know, he said that there are things in the movie he wished he thought of, and I was just like, yeah, I wished you thought of it too, because the movie was so much more enjoyable than the book. But like I said, though, the book wasn't bad. I really did have a good time with both of them. I do recommend both of them. And I mean, I almost said, you know, if you haven't read it, you know, and you haven't seen it, then maybe start with the book. But of course, anybody that watched this and watched it to the end has, you know, already seen these. And if you haven't, I really don't know what you're doing here. But yeah, if you've only seen the movie, I really do recommend reading the book to see where it came from. And if you've only read the book, you know, then watch the movie. But anyways, guys, if you've read them, if you read it and you watched it and you're looking for more stuff to read, then I have these 5 books here that you guys could buy on Amazon and Kindle down below in the description, as well as my new books. I have a new series on Amazon and Kindle called 100 Days Till Halloween. Right now, the first 4 books, there'll be a fifth one up soon. The first 4 books are up for pre-order. So you guys could pre-order the ebooks right now. I'm recording this on the February 21st, and it'll be uploaded February 21st. And the 5th book will be up probably, if not today, in the next couple days. I'll have the files for the 5th book uploaded. But if you guys want to pre-order those ebooks, check them out, guys. The paperbacks will be up when the pre-order periods are over. For the ebooks, Amazon doesn't let indie authors put their paperbacks up for pre-order, so all my paperback files are saved as a draft right now. So I'm releasing these once a month, and whenever that pre-order period is over for the ebook, that's when I'll upload the paperback files. So like I said, today's the 21st. The 28th, book 1, The Christmas Morning Massacre, releases. So once we hit midnight, the 28th, that's when the book will be up, and you could read it. It'll be directly on your device if you pre-order it right now, and you could read it. And on that day, that's when I'm going to hit publish on the paperback files. Then the paperback will be uploaded within 72 hours. Just depends on Amazon. They have to go through and approve the files. Sometimes they've given me the thumbs up after a couple hours, and my paperbacks have been available that same day. And there have been times where it took the whole 72 hours. Typically, they get back to you in about a day. So, you know, if you guys want to support me on the channel, please pre-order the ebooks. Get both the ebooks and the paperbacks whenever the paperbacks are up, guys. Check them both out, please. And have a great day. See ya.